The memorized self is a mental construct, a sum of past experiences, behaviors, emotions, and decisions that have been ingrained into our consciousness. It's our familiar psychological territory, the place where our mind instinctively rests, where we feel most at home. Yet, it's also a cage that bounds our potential and confines us within the walls of our past. It's crucial to understand how the memorized self forms. From a neurological perspective, when we repeatedly think, feel, or act in a certain way, our brain wires itself to make these patterns more efficient and automatic. This is known as Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Over time, these patterns become so deeply ingrained that they form an integral part of our identity. Our memorized self. The memorized self can be both beneficial and detrimental. On one hand, it helps us automate routine tasks, saving mental energy for novel and complex situations. On the other hand, it creates habitual patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving that can be limiting or even destructive. If we're not mindful, we can become enslaved to our past, endlessly repeating our memorized patterns without recognizing our capacity for change and growth. Most people live their lives as if they are their memorized self, believing they are the sum total of everything they have been up until the present moment. They see themselves through the lens of their past experiences, mistakes, victories, and traumas. This identification with the past often results in a self-fulfilling prophecy as we continue to think, act, and feel in ways that reinforce our existing self-image. In addition, our memorized self can influence how we perceive reality. Our brains are wired to seek familiarity, and our memorized self is the epitome of the familiar. This can lead us to interpret new experiences in light of our past, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of sameness. We expect the world to conform to our memorized self, and our brain selectively filters our perceptions to fit these expectations. To break free from the grip of our memorized self, we must first recognize its presence and influence in our lives. We must cultivate a heightened level of self-awareness, constantly observing our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Only then can we start to discern the patterns that bind us and make the conscious decision to change them. This process of self-discovery may be challenging. It may reveal aspects of ourselves that we would rather ignore or deny. But it's also a journey of liberation. By recognizing our memorized self, we take the first step towards transcending our past and unlocking our potential for growth. Emotions are powerful forces that shape our thoughts, actions, and overall life experiences. They are the vibrant colors that paint the canvas of our reality, adding depth, dimension, and meaning to our existence. Yet, if not understood or managed effectively, emotions can limit our potential and stand in the way of our transformation. The relationship between thoughts and emotions is a symbiotic one, each influencing and being influenced by the other. A thought can spur an emotional response, which in turn can reinforce or amplify the initial thought. This interplay creates a feedback loop that can either fuel positive change or perpetuate stagnation and suffering. When we become reliant on our emotions to guide our thoughts, when feelings become the means of thinking, we risk becoming trapped in our habitual emotional patterns. Each emotion we feel reinforces a particular neural pathway in our brain, making it more likely that we will experience that emotion again in the future. Over time, these recurring emotional patterns become an integral part of our memorized self. Our memorized self, as we've established, is heavily influenced by the past. When our emotions dictate our thoughts, we essentially allow our past experiences to dictate our present and future. This can prevent us from seeing new possibilities or recognizing opportunities for growth and change. If we routinely experience negative emotions such as fear, anger, or sadness, this can shape our thought patterns towards negativity. We may become overly focused on problems rather than solutions, or adopt a pessimistic outlook on life. This negativity can inhibit our ability to imagine or work towards a better future. Understanding the power of emotion is the first step towards reclaiming control over our thoughts and, by extension, our lives. We must learn to observe our emotions without letting them control our thoughts. This involves developing emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, two critical skills that can help us navigate our inner emotional landscape. Emotional awareness is the ability to recognize and understand our emotions as they occur. It's about being present with our feelings without judgment or resistance. By cultivating emotional awareness, we can identify our habitual emotional patterns and understand their impact on our thoughts and actions. Emotional intelligence, on the other hand, involves using our understanding of emotions to guide our behavior and make decisions that align with our goals and values. It's about managing our emotions effectively, leveraging them as tools for growth rather than allowing them to dictate our thoughts. In this process of understanding and managing our emotions, we must remember not to suppress or deny our feelings. Emotions are a natural and necessary part of our human experience. They carry valuable information about our needs, desires, and boundaries. The goal isn't to eliminate emotions, but to ensure they serve us rather than enslave us. Thinking beyond feelings is a critical ability on our journey towards personal evolution and self-empowerment. It's about expanding our perspectives, reaching for thought patterns that are not dictated by our present emotions, but by the vision of who we aspire to become. However, this is no easy task. The human brain is designed to respond and adapt to emotional signals. Our emotions often trigger automatic thought processes that have been ingrained in us over years of conditioning. These automatic thought processes form the framework of our memorized self, influencing our perception of reality and guiding our responses to life's challenges. To think beyond our feelings, we must first recognize the influence our emotions have on our thoughts. It's important to understand that emotions aren't just vague feelings. They are physical responses that involve hormones, neurotransmitters, and specific patterns of neural activity. Each emotion has a physiological signature that affects our body and brain in unique ways. For instance, if we feel threatened, our body might respond by releasing adrenaline and cortisol, hormones that prepare us for a fight or flight response. These hormones not only affect our physical state, but also influence our thoughts. They might lead us to perceive the world as more dangerous or unpredictable, influencing our decisions and actions. Recognizing these physiological signatures of emotions can help us understand why we think the way we do and how we can start thinking beyond our feelings. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings, but rather it means acknowledging our emotional state and choosing to entertain thoughts that align with our higher selves, regardless of how we feel in the present moment. A crucial part of thinking beyond feelings is to develop metacognition, the ability to think about our thoughts. This skill allows us to observe our thought patterns from a distance, evaluate them objectively, and deliberately choose the thoughts that serve us best. It's like being the director of your mind's movie, able to edit, rewrite, and alter the script according to your desired outcome. But how can we cultivate metacognition? The first step is mindfulness, a practice of staying present and paying attention to our thoughts without judgment or resistance. Mindfulness allows us to notice when we're falling into habitual thought patterns dictated by our emotions, giving us a chance to redirect our thoughts towards more empowering narratives. Another valuable tool is journaling. Writing about our thoughts and feelings provides an external, tangible perspective on our internal mental processes. It makes our thought patterns more visible, helping us identify any recurring themes or biases that may be linked to our emotions. Cognitive restructuring techniques can also be effective. These involve challenging and altering negative or unhelpful thoughts, replacing them with more positive, empowering ones. Over time, these new thought patterns can become our default, helping us think beyond our feelings consistently. Moreover, we can use visualization exercises to stimulate new, positive thought patterns. By visualizing our desired future state in vivid detail, we can trigger the associated positive emotions and neuronal responses, training our brain to think beyond our current feelings. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate emotions, but to prevent them from constraining our thoughts. Emotions are valuable signals, but they don't have to be the directors of our mental narrative. By developing metacognition, practicing mindfulness, journaling, using cognitive restructuring techniques, and visualizing our desired future, we can effectively learn to think beyond our feelings. The human brain is a magnificent organ capable of amazing feats of learning, problem-solving, creativity, and adaptation. It is also the seat of our identities, the home of the memorized self. To fully understand the process of transformation, it's important to grasp the basic neurobiology of change. Our brains are composed of billions of nerve cells, or neurons, interconnected in complex networks. These networks enable us to perceive, think, feel, and act. Each thought or action we repeat strengthens the connections or synapses between the involved neurons, making the thought or action easier and more automatic. This is the principle of neuroplasticity, encapsulated by the adage, "Neurons that fire together, wire together." Neuroplasticity is the foundation of the memorized self. When we repeatedly think certain thoughts, feel certain emotions, or engage in certain behaviors, we strengthen the corresponding neural networks, creating ingrained patterns that become part of our identity. Over time, these patterns can become so deeply embedded that they function on autopilot, triggering automatically in response to certain cues or situations. While neuroplasticity enables the formation of the memorized self, it also provides the means for its transformation. Just as we can strengthen neural networks through repetition, we can also weaken them through neglect. When we stop engaging in certain thoughts, feelings, or actions, the associated neural connections gradually weaken and fade. This principle, often referred to as synaptic pruning, allows us to reshape our brain and create new patterns that align with our desired state of being. However, the process of change involves more than just weakening old neural networks. It also requires building new ones. This involves consistently thinking new thoughts, feeling new emotions, and engaging in new behaviors, even when it feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. The more we practice these new patterns, the stronger the corresponding neural networks become, eventually becoming part of our new, transformed self. Building new neural networks often requires conscious effort, especially in the beginning. This is because our brains are naturally inclined to conserve energy and resort to established patterns. However, with persistence and consistency, the new patterns can become just as automatic and effortless as the old ones. Mindfulness and meditation can be powerful tools in this process. Mindfulness allows us to notice when we're falling into old patterns and consciously redirect our thoughts, feelings, and actions towards our desired state. Meditation, particularly visualization-based practices, can help us stimulate the new neural networks even when the external conditions aren't present. By vividly imagining ourselves thinking, feeling, and behaving in alignment with our desired state, we can activate the associated neural networks and accelerate the process of change. Neurofeedback and biofeedback techniques can also be valuable. These involve using technology to monitor our physiological processes, such as brainwave activity, heart rate, or skin temperature, and providing real-time feedback to help us learn to control these processes. This can be especially helpful in learning to regulate our emotional responses and cultivate new, empowering emotional states. Furthermore, a healthy lifestyle can support neuroplasticity and facilitate change. Regular physical exercise, a balanced diet, adequate sleep, and stress management all contribute to optimal brain health and function, making it easier for us to reshape our neural networks. In summary, the process of transformation involves both weakening old neural networks and the memorized self. Our actions are the outward manifestations of our inner thoughts and feelings. They are the physical expression of our neural patterns, the concrete realization of our abstract thoughts. Acting in alignment with our desired state reinforces the corresponding neural networks and further weakens the old ones, accelerating the process of transformation. The challenge, however, lies in breaking free from our habitual behaviors and acting in ways that might feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable. Our habitual behaviors are deeply ingrained, not just in our brains but also in our bodies. When we've been acting in certain ways for a long time, these actions can feel natural or automatic, while new actions can feel unnatural or forced. This can create resistance and make the process of change challenging. However, there are strategies we can use to overcome this resistance and act greater than our familiar feelings. One of these is to start small. Change doesn't have to involve drastic, immediate shifts. Small, gradual changes can be just as effective, if not more so. By introducing new actions gradually, we can minimize resistance and make the process more manageable. Another strategy is to use visualization. Before taking a new action, spend some time vividly imagining yourself performing it. Visualize it in as much detail as possible, engaging all your senses. The aim is to make the action feel more familiar before you actually perform it. Since the brain doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined and real experiences, this can help reduce resistance and make the action feel more natural. It's also crucial to maintain a growth mindset throughout the process. Embrace the idea that change is a journey, not a destination. There will be obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. However, these are not signs of failure but opportunities for growth and learning. Remember, every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your desired state of being. Repetition and consistency are key to embedding new actions into your neural networks. It's not enough to perform a new action once or twice. You need to repeat it consistently until it becomes an integral part of your new identity. This might require discipline and perseverance, especially in the beginning. However, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Creating an environment that supports your new actions can also facilitate change. This might involve arranging your physical surroundings in a way that encourages your new behaviors, surrounding yourself with people who support your transformation, or even changing your daily routines or habits to create more opportunities for your new actions. Lastly, celebrating your progress, no matter how small, can boost your motivation and reinforce your commitment to change. Each time you act greater than your familiar feelings, take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate your effort. This can create positive reinforcement and make the process of change more rewarding.